Is Dan Dare 2 a case of diminishing returns with sequels? The first Dan Dare game was well received with its comic book style and excellent graphics, so of course it was a candidate for Virgin to make a sequel. Released in 1988, I first got this game in 1989 on Mastertronic budget, Ricochet label, a flippy tape, Amstrad one side, Spectrum on the other. And we start off on the CPC. You can play as the Mekon or Dan Dare. So I'm starting off as Dan Dare. And you are Dan, and what you have to do is stop the Mekon from releasing his Super Treens, who are going to take over the universe. Or something. There we go, we've shot one. You need to destroy the force field generator and then shoot all the Treens on the level. And there's a clock that counts down, but it's not in seconds. It just gets faster and faster as it goes down. There's not much in the way of sound effects. Just laser blasts and bumping noises. And you'll be bumping into things quite a lot because there's gravity and inertia on your hover bike thing. Graphics are rather nice. We're over to the C64, which can obviously do this kind of thing far better with 50 frames a second motion. But again, very basic sound effects. The game was re-released in just a year on the Ricochet label, because it came out April 88 on full price, April 89 on budget. So we've shot that, and again, that countdown timer is going down. That gives me extra firepower there. And that timer is tight, very tight. One mistake on each of these levels and you will be starting again. We'll come to why that is shortly. There we go, shot the Treen there. Generally easier to shoot them on the C64 than the Amstrad. You can go through there, but you can go through there. I don't know why. So we should be getting on towards the end of the level. We will then go down here, and it's a memory test. Because as I say, if we make a mistake now... I think I shot that. Yes, I shot it. If I hadn't shot it and gone down that pipe, because you get sucked down, it would be... the time would run out. Right. Down here. Don't go down that hole there. And then into here with 2 clock things remaining. And that bit of the spacecraft blows up. There's 4 levels. And over to the Spectrum. Game coded by the Gang of 5, who did games like Sorcery. And you'll notice on the Spectrum, the game layout is completely and utterly different. C64 and Amstrad versions are exactly the same. Spectrum version, no, it's the same concept, completely different layouts, and just different. It's rather strange. You'd think the Amstrad and the Spectrum versions would share code, but apparently not. That room we just saw there with the big lasers in it, that's an instant death room where you go down one of those tubes and you can't go back up again and you die. Those things on the ground make you hover up and turn the other way, so it's quite irritating. You'll notice the clock isn't running because I've stopped it with a multi-phase poke. Back on the Amstrad, that's the end of level 1. So shoot our way through and on to level 2. You will need to make a map or be very good at memorising stuff because, again, one false move and the clock, although I've stopped it here, will run down. By the way, if you stop the clock, you can't complete the levels because you can only complete the levels by being in the safe airlock when the clock reaches 0. Yeah. So you can't even cheat this game properly. So something about the collision on the Amstrad version where things don't... I should be able to shoot that and make it open, but apparently not. Please open. Anyway. That should open. You don't really notice it if you only play the Amstrad version. I can't go down there, it pushes me up. The Amstrad version, after you play the C64 version, as we see here, chugs a bit, but actually, and there's another death room there. So if you get sucked down into there, you die. There's a lot of unfair deaths. And the reason that clock counts down so fast, and it's counting down now and getting faster, is because this game, if you know what you're doing and don't make any mistakes, can be completed in 10 minutes. Certainly on the C64 and the Amstrad versions. Spectrum might be a little bit longer, but yeah, they've got a very short game, and what they've decided to do, and I've stopped the clock on the Spectrum version here, as I said, is make the game so hard that one mistake and you have to go back to the beginning. And that's how they do it. So now I'm in the airlock, and I need to restart that clock with the multi-face. And the clock won't start again until I shoot the force field generator. Or is it the first treen? Anyway. Reviews. Crash gave this 74%. Ace gave the Spectrum version 814, the CPC 838, and the C64 805. And Zach gave the C64 version 83. All the magazine seems fairly generous with it. It's quite odd that they didn't really notice how difficult it is and how they've compensated for how short the game is by adding a absolutely brutal timer. There's no way I could have got as far as I am without multi-face poking it. On the Amstrad, I don't have a poke, and I've got 7.3 minutes left, which will count down faster as it gets towards 0. Let's try this again. Will it work this time? There's something... There we go. It's just fiddly and irritating. Stuff just doesn't work when it... And the controls are fiddly. And I should just be able to get my way through there, but it's not having it. It's a shame because the graphics are nice and colourful, but really it's easy to be deceived by this game. In that all three versions look quite nice. I don't have good sound. But there's not an awful lot here. There is a nice whooshing background noise on the C64 version I can hear in my headphones. You don't really get that impression on playing on the television. And I think it's when you make an explosion. The explosion lasts for ages and this kind of goes whoosh. Right, that should be the end of level. We'll need to restart the clock. There we go. One of Vinny's mega hacks, I think this is. On to level 3, which is very brown. And, yeah, it's all the same with an even more confusing layout. This really is. Dan Dare 1's a fairly decent game. Dan Dare 3, I think, is really nice. And there's a death room there. You don't want to go in there. Dan Dare 2 just feels like something that's been hacked together to make a quick buck out of the success of the first game. And obviously it couldn't have sold very well if they're knocking it out on budget just a year later. Those rush releases to full price weren't really a thing until the 90s, although there are some games on Ricochet where games were rushed out onto budget because they hadn't sold well. But this is peculiar. It's such a peculiar game, especially with the comic book aesthetic of the first Dan Dare game. Over to the Spectrum. On to level 4 of 4. And again, I'm cheating. It's nice and colourful on the Specky. The graphics are well drawn. Lots of colour there. It just lacks... Dan Dare 1 had such a comic book aesthetic with the kind of strips overlaying each other. And this just feels like such a generic maze explore game that is a memory test. Dan Dare 3, okay, that's similar to this, but it plays so much better. Can I go? I can go through there, apparently. Don't know where I'm going. So this should be towards the end of level 4. I know that because I've used the RZX archive to get me here. And the time's so tight. And the energy's so low. But there we go. It can be done. People have said they've completed it, you know, without cheating. But now I just have to wait in this box here because until the timer goes down to 0 because that's how this game works. It's all dependent on the timer running out and you being in the correct safe zone when it blows up. It's such a disappointing game. It really is, especially when the first game was so good, and like I suspect a lot of people bought the second game on the strength of the first. I had the first on budget as well, and my mate had it on a compilation on the C64. It was a good game, and this simply is not. Down to 2, 1, watch that clock speed up. There we go. That should be game completed if you can stand playing it for this long. I say this long, it can be completed quickly, but you need to just memorise the route. And there we go, the spacecraft blows up. Woo. You can play the game as the Mekon, whatever it is. And here we are on the Amstrad version. It's the same game, except instead of killing treens, you shoot them. You think this would be added excitement? It really isn't. Oh, did I mention your men will follow you around as well and aid you? But frankly, in the heat of battle, that doesn't really... You don't really notice where they are and you just end up shooting them. But they are supposed to be there to assist you. Dan Dare 2, well, it is diminishing returns on the original game. It just lacks that aesthetic appeal and the gameplay. It is a simple maze game with rather annoying inertia controls, and it is a memory test. The game is so short it can be completed in 10 minutes. You just have to play it over and over and over again until you've memorised the routes. You know, like those lab experiments where they keep electrocuting animals until they learn. Because that's what this game is. It's just punish you, and eventually you learn the route. Amstrad version has nice graphics, chugs along a bit. C64 version obviously is silky smooth. Graphics aren't as nice. Spectrum, nice and colourful. Not much in the way of colour clash or anything like that. And they're all visually good to look at. Sound is terrible on all of them. No excuse for no music or better effects on the C64. May have been memory constraints on the Amstrad. And I want to know why that Spectrum version has a completely different level layout to the Amstrad version and C64 versions, especially when it's at 80 code. So surely the Amstrad version should be like the Spectrum version or vice versa. I have no idea. Dan Dare 2 is certainly the weakest of the trilogy. Play 1 for the aesthetics, play 3 for the gameplay, and 2, well, just eject it into space.